Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, James Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 233 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. I'm your host, James Dotson, and welcome back to the show. In this episode, we're going to dive into two subjects. The first one is the pre-fit barrels and a great video that was just released on YouTube, which I absolutely agree with. It's worthwhile talking about, and it's really getting into not just a pre-fit barrel, but the difference between a prosumer gunsmith and a gunsmith, and the dangers of pre-fits with the value of who is cutting the actual or doing the machining work. The other part we're going to talk about is a new series I would like to get into, and that is the lessons that new shooters could teach all of us while they're on the firing line. It's been a phenomenon that I've noticed for more than 20 years of teaching that there's a lot of times we get new shooters here, shooters that have never handled a rifle before, never shot a rifle before. And it's really fascinating to watch not just how they process through, what they're actually able to accomplish. And I think there's some actual things that we can learn from all of this as experienced shooters, some of the ways that we might actually be hurting ourselves. So we're going to dive into the first part of that series and talking about just really the mystery of the new shooter and being able to watch what they can do so quickly and maybe start asking some questions as to why. So it ought to be a great podcast. Without further ado, here we go. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to a couple of our sponsors. TriggerTech is a major sponsor of the show. We super appreciate it. They make a lot of different makes and models of triggers for a lot of different makes and models of rifles. In my mind, they're the safest trigger on the market, one of the easiest to install, and one of the easiest to adjust. So if you want to upgrade your rifle with a trigger, we recommend TriggerTech, and you can learn more at triggertech.com. That's triggertech.com today. We'd also like to thank MDT. They're a maker of great rifle chassis from what I think is the best sub-$1,000 chassis on the market, the Oryx, which retails for about $439, to the ACC Elite and J. Allen. So a lot of different makes and models, a lot of different uses, and a fantastic company to work with. So if you want to learn more about MDT and all the chassis that they offer, you can stop over to mdttac.com. That's mdttac.com today. So there was a great video that was sent to me, Backfire TV or Backfire YouTube channel. You're probably all familiar with it if you're listening to this podcast. They did a video talking about a lot of the deception in the custom rifle building world, and it's been around for a while, and the fact that somebody sent him a rifle, and they wanted them to do a review on it, and of course with him doing his research, the rifle was actually made completely of pre-fit components and was being charged thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the cost of the components to the consumer. He did a great job on getting into the bushes of the cost of the materials and doing the research to actually purchase the pre-fit components and building it yourself and saving the customer probably nearly $2,000 to $3,000. And also, he brought somebody on to actually put together some rifles, doing a lot of this pre-fit or parts assembled kits rifles. Now, we have been working on this for 5 to 7 years, and to go into a little bit of a backstory, this is coming. We knew it was coming 5 to 7 years ago. We were probably a little bit too early for the marketplace and what we were trying to do and trying to work with action makers and doing all the things that needed to be done to bring this up to a super high level of quality as well. But this is coming. It's on the horizon, and I think there's a lot of consumers that really fall victim to the assembly of components by somebody and offering it as a custom rifle. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's a malicious deception, but it is a deception. And the fact that my definition of a gunsmith is someone who actually has machines in their shop and are doing a lot of the work to get the barrel and the action fit together, doing the crowning, doing the chambering, doing the thread cutting, all of these things, to actually build the rifle. That there's a machinist involved. That is gunsmithing. If they're not doing any of their own machining, that is a company based off of components and just really copying best practices and pulling product on the open marketplace at a discount. That's the key word we want to keep in mind here, at a negotiated discount, and then marking it up on top of that and selling it to the consumer as a business model that they're going to run their business on. So when you talk about the prosumer gunsmithing, which is the courses that we're getting ready to offer, a lot of it is to get consumers to really be able to get a handle on putting the rifles together. It's not rocket science per se. There is some common sense things you need, like when you're putting threads together, make sure you have lubes on them. When you're assembling the parts and pieces, things you want to watch for. Making sure that you're using the right tools and that you're tightening things to specs. All of these things are really important, but really not a gunsmithing level, maybe prosumer gunsmithing. Backfire TV had a gentleman on there that's actually assembled several rifles and demonstrated by groups that the rifles were actually pretty decent shooting rifles, which doesn't surprise me a bit. When you're using higher quality components, I think you can always expect to get a better performing rifle, without a doubt. I know for a fact of one company, and I cannot say the name and I wouldn't, that's selling custom rifles for in excess of $8,000. $8,000, not $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, over $8,000. In some cases, getting close to $14,000 till you throw in the optics and you throw in all the add-ons. And that company is not making a single part that goes on that rifle. He subcontracts the chambering out to another company that does all the barrel work for him. He just simply assembles the parts and sends them out, and more than doubles his income. When we're talking about pre-fit barrels and the difference between pre-fit barrels and what we consider like gunsmithing, which is what we would consider the ace to be, right? Pre-fit barrels are a commodity. It's a commodity-based business because everybody can do it. Anyone can run a chamber reamer into that barrel. And as soon as you make it a commodity, then price becomes involved. And everybody tries to either focus on how fast we get it to the customer, how cheap can we offer it to them for? Those start to get involved. So when they're going down those rabbit holes, quality will suffer. How much are they willing to sacrifice in the quality of the machining work or the accuracy potential of the completed pre-fit barrel in order to keep the cost down? Or the other part is to make more money, right? It even gets worse. When they're retailing these pre-fits, there's often keyed in there a dealer program where companies like maybe that company that had that rifle they sent to Backfire TV can buy these things at a discount. That again makes it more important to keep the cost to an absolute minimum. So think of quantity rather than quality. So when you're buying that pre-fit from whatever manufacturer's offering pre-fit barrels now, and there's a lot of them, the manufacturers themselves are using it as a commodity. That's why it's so cheap. And built into that is sometimes dealer costs and dealer programs, which means they even have to make it cheaper now. It's not direct consumer. They want to be careful that they can offer that to somebody that wants to actually, build for sale. And so these companies are trying to purchase all these components at a discount below the retail cost. And then, of course, add their markup and profits and everything in there. And voila, they're custom rifle builders. When we talk about pre-fits too, the other danger that gets involved in all of this is the fact that the quality of the machines that you're doing the pre-fit work on. So in aerospace, it's the best quality equipment you can buy, right? It's if you're taking and you're making anything that's going into nuclear submarines, you're putting it into, $200 and $300 million aircraft or more. You are not skimping on quality of machine. Quality of machines matter. When we're talking gunsmithing now and we're talking about pre-fit barrels, they're going to get the cheapest machine that will do the job, that will just get them by. And they are almost all guilty of this. And so they look at it to where our budget's here, how good do we have to be, not how good can we be? And, we can buy X machine here for $60,000 and, we'll have the gunsmith manually dial it in and you'll have to do this, that, and the other thing. But, the machine's $60,000. Or we can look at X machine over here that the machine itself without tooling is nearly $300,000. And then with tooling, $400,000 to $500,000. Which do you think they're going to choose? And that's the difference between what we would consider a commodity pre-fit and then maybe a pre-fit by a super qualified gunsmith as well. So there's a huge difference in the pre-fit market and the machines that you're using, and that also bleeds over into the quality of the product that you're going to do. or the quality of products that you're going to get. When we were talking about pre-fits 5 to 7 years ago, we weren't talking about pre-fit barrels. We were talking about making an ace chamber that basically completed the system. In other words, we were able to cut a more accurate cut into the barrel without the curvature of the bore, which eliminates some of the hassle of running long reamers into a barrel and chasing the crooked throat, per se, which robs accuracy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. A crooked throat robs accuracy. And then we were going to make or manufacture the ace. Now, 5 to 7 years ago, we were ahead of the curve, and maybe even before our time. And I think our time is probably within the next 6 months to 18 months is going to be, we're finally, everything that we've been working for that we thought was going to happen in the future is going to come around and be here on our laps. And the problem we ran into 5 to 7 years ago was when we start talking about making such a high quality part on an ultra high quality machine, we actually have to have the action makers hold super tight tolerances for head spacing. So when we make an ace, we have to make big runs of them in order to keep the cost down and keep everything profitable. In other words, if we stop the machine to custom headspace a ace for an action, that machine costs us, if you want to calculate, somewhere around $500 an hour till you calculate in the cost of the machine, the tooling, the quality of the machinist, which, by the way, are also in very limited supply, workers' comp and machining costs. Like when you talk about pre-fit barrels and these companies like Blaze TV was talking about, they're buying all these parts and just assembling them, sending them out. But they have no idea how expensive it is to really run a true machine shop. Like it is jaw-droppingly crazy expensive from every way you look at it, from the super high-quality machines that we purchase to simple things you wouldn't think about, which is something like workers' comp. In the machining world, it's a dangerous world. People can get hurt and killed very easily in working with some of the parts and pieces of machines that we work with. And so we have high insurance rates, we have high workers' comp, we have high this. It is just ungodly expensive on the people that are trying to actually do this, especially at a professional level or a real machine shop level. You know, the guy with the lathe in his garage just turning out, barrels on the weekend, or has a wall of barrels and then, a $50,000 CNC, and he's just, pounding these things out as a commodity. He probably isn't exposed to what we're exposed to here. But when you start talking about doing it at a super high quality, you also have to take into consideration that 5 to 7 years ago, none of the action manufacturers would hold headspace. So we went around SHOT Show like crazy, and I can, just talking to everybody, and the only one was Bat Machine, and Bat always did it. So not only is Bat quality, Bat Machine Company we're talking about, but their consistency in headspacing meant that we could take an ace from a rifle that we built 8 years ago and send them a new ace of a different caliber that's going to headspace correctly. They were able to hold headspace. Now, for those that don't know what headspace is the distance between with the bolt in the receiver from the top of the recoil lug or the top of the receiver to the bolt face. That dimension is super critical for headspacing when we're actually chambering for or making an action or even chambering a pre-fit. That is super important. So we went around to all the brands, and you know them all, and they were like, nope, ain't interested. Like, hey, you got to hold not just a thou plus or minus, you got to hold a half a thou. Nope, ain't interested. The gunsmith does it. The gunsmith does it. So they could loosen up their tolerances and sell the daylights out of these receivers and basically be allowed to fluctuate all over the place because the gunsmith would individually headspace that receiver. So it could be plus or minus 3 or 5 thousandths. It didn't matter. The gunsmith was going to custom make that chamber for it. That has changed. If you're an action maker right now and you haven't figured out that you better be holding super tight tolerances across all of your receivers, you're going to be left in the dust within a year or two because the market is coming. The market is absolutely coming for not just pre-fit barrels, which I think is a great entry level into bridging that gap between factory and custom, but then super high quality rifles, super high quality rifles. So if they want to stay in the game now, 5 years later, they are all doing it. They are all getting there. They are getting better. Not all of them are at the level that we would want them to be. We would want that plus or minus like a half a thou, but plus or minus a thou is way better than what they were, 5-7 years ago. And honestly, 5-7 years ago, they wouldn't even talk to you, right? So when we talk about the difference between a gunsmith and a prosumer gunsmith, you got to be careful when you're purchasing rifles because you might be dealing with someone who's just what I would consider a prosumer gunsmith, assembling components, and then doubling or tripling the cost of their components and sending it on to you just for the labor of 2 to 3 hours of putting it together. Where a true gunsmith that's actually head spacing that receiver and making sure that everything's correct, especially for a lot of the receivers that need to have this work done, is priceless. So you're paying for that quality. Keep in mind, the machines behind the background make a world of difference. And like I said, that runs into a huge problem with prefits because in the manufacturing world, especially in the gunsmith world, they're cheapskates. They're absolutely cheapskates in a lot of the ways that they look at machines. They will buy something that will, I don't care about all the brands. I just want to know what will get us by. What's the cheapest machine that we can purchase to do the job? That's really commonplace. So you have to almost do your homework and make sure that, they're able to make the quality apart over and over again. And a lot of times they're not. So you're going to be held to that, or it can be, depending on who you're purchasing these components from, is who's doing the chambering, the machines and tools that they're doing, the quality of the work that they're willing to do, the quality of work they're willing to hold themselves to as far as their tolerances go, which holds true for everything. And then that will end up having a lot to do with the quality of the rifle that you assemble when you get your components. So with the ACE system, when we headspace or when we set an ACE up, we know that it will fit on any bat action we've ever sold, and we know it'll fit perfectly. And we can do big runs. If we stop the machines, it'll cost us probably $500 an hour or more if we had to stop that machine to try to custom headspace an ACE to a receiver every single time. It would just be absolutely no way cost effective at all on our end. So in order to use these higher end aerospace machines and build to the quality that we want to build to, we also have to make sure that we're using premium components that hold their tolerances to the same level that we're willing to hold ours to. So there's no strings attached. If you get a chance, you can go check it out. It's Backfire TV or Backfire's YouTube channel. I thought they did a great job on the video, and I think it's worthwhile checking out. And I think they nailed it, and it's coming. It's coming for sure. So our goal here now is to get in production, get the ACEs up online. Prosumer can put the ACEs on and off themselves. I mean, we've been working on this for 7 years. We think it's coming, and it's going to come fast, and it's going to shake the industry. I think a lot of these custom rifle makers or prosumer builders are going to really be in trouble, and I even think the super high-end builders, when the lights come on that, hey, I can take a one-day class and I can actually build a world-class rifle, they're going to spend that extra $4 or $5 grand, or they're going to put it towards their hunt. We'll see. So before we continue on, I want to say a quick thank you to Krieger Barrels. Krieger is the maker of fine cut rifle barrels. They are a family-owned and operated business in the great state of Wisconsin. They have a new program called Krieger Direct. We can log on, look through their selection of online barrels that they post up on a regular basis, and get your barrel in as little as 2 to 3 business days. So if you want the best, you need it now, stop over to KriegerBarrels.com. That's KriegerBarrels.com today. All right, so the mystery of new shooters. This is going to be a series of podcasts that we're going to do because it is so worthwhile talking about. And this is really just going to try to wet the whistle a little bit as to why I think a lot of experienced shooters can learn a lot here. I think it's just absolutely fascinating, and for many different reasons. Although they might not all apply to everyone, I think we can all take something away from it. What I find fascinating is we are exposed to a lot of brand new shooters, young and old alike, that have never shot before. And the last 2 classes were perfect examples of people that have never shot a rifle, ever. And they're running out and shooting targets out to 1,000 yards as if they've been doing it their whole lives on day 2. Now, part of it is the training, which, I have to plug that in there and say I think we do a pretty good job of getting them up to speed pretty quickly. But the other part of it is why? How? I tell them on the first day in class, by the end of day 2, you're going to be doing all of this on your own. And they look at you like, oh, no, you didn't say that, and they're like, oh, okay. And then I keep telling them, look, you can do it. You're going to hit it on this shot. Here's how we're training. Here's what we're doing. It's sort of amazing that the lights come on and they don't think any other direction or any other way other than they can do it. And away they go every single time. In 20 years, got to be hundreds of examples that I can give you of this happening over and over again, where new shooters in less than 2 days are shooting as if, and out shooting in some cases, people that have been doing this for 30 years. And there's lots of excuses, like you often hear, well, they just don't have any bad habits. And we're going to talk about all that in the upcoming episodes, but I don't really think that's it. I don't think that's it at all. I think there's a couple fascinating things you have to take from this. And so we already had it twice this year. We're getting into our third class. That'll kick off on Monday. I'm getting into our shooting season big time. And in this next class, we have 2 brand new shooters again. One a little bit older and one probably middle-aged, but absolutely never did anything long range in any type of rifle shooting. And by day 2, it's just amazing. I sat there as someone who just loves shooting. Like, the art of marksmanship is alive and well. There's a passion to it. Like, I get excited watching shooters enjoy something that I love. I love sharing it. And if I see that glint in their eyes, like, oh my God, that was the coolest thing ever, that is a high for me. Like I want them to experience that. It's something that's changed my life and made my life richer and fuller. I surrounded myself with people that just love to do this type of stuff, and how much I enjoy their company, and how I really think shooters are such great people anyway. And to watch that glimmer and then get super stoked and be off. I mean, to watch them leave, they are ready to go and conquer the world. They want to compete. They want to learn more. They got a taste, and it tastes good, right? And you watch it in every class, and you wouldn't think it's possible. So in a class earlier this year, we had a young girl. She was 17, and she almost took the Top Gun hat, and her confidence was through the roof. She shot like an absolute champ. And the hard part for us, especially when we're trying to, tell them, like, oh my God, they don't have enough people to gauge on how well they're doing. So in some ways, they might be thinking, you're just trying to pump us up, maybe he's just trying to be extra kind, right? They have no idea how good they're doing. Like, I've watched, thousands and thousands of people with rifles, and to sit there and watch a new shooter do some of the things that they do, hit the things that they're hitting at such a level of consistency that I would have want to been at 10 years into my shooting career, it's just fascinating. And there's lessons to be learned from this. It's not just an oddity. It's a phenomenon that happens all the time. And the question is why? Why is it that you can take a 14 and 15-year-old girl who absolutely decimates a retired Marine who had all kinds of shooting experience, right? And in the last day of class, you could see that the retired Marine did not want to lose to this 15-year-old girl. I mean, his man card was on the line. And you could also see that she wanted to take it. It was absolutely hilarious. And they all did it in great spirits, right? It wasn't adversarial, but you could see he really didn't want to lose, right? And it's phenomenal to watch. Like he knew. He was like, how did this happen? Like, she must be something special. She must be that phenomena that happens 1 in 10,000 times, and she just happens to be shooting beside me. That's not true. It happens all the time. It happens in every class. It happens so often now that when I'm talking in the first day of class and we're going over all the fundamentals of marksmanship. Now, I always say this in class: fundamentals of marksmanship is sort of like eating cereal without milk. It's really dry, hard to chew on, and even harder to swallow, right? It is a super dry subject. It can be really a lot to take. It is not the most fun part of shooting, right? Shooting and hitting stuff. But I tell them, if you work hard at this on day 1 and you really think about what I'm trying to share and all the targets that we're going to shoot today while we're practicing and getting these things established, day 2, I don't have to tell you anything. Day 2 is just like take the leash off and let them run. And it's just amazing to watch. I mean, I wish more people could stand where I'm standing and watch it. And I think if we had, like, let's just say 5 world-class bench press shooters at the range, just had them sit in stools with a class with 2 or 3 new students in them, and I will guarantee it on the end of day 3, they will leave here like, you got to be kidding me, right? And the same thing happened. Like, we have a new hire and a new team member. His name is Scott. Scott's son shot competitively, and Scott is actually a high school shooting team coach. So he's been around guns his whole life. Day one or class 1 and 2 of this year, absolute chatterbox coming back here to saying, "Hey Scott, so what did you think of that class?" And then here it comes. "Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Did you see how she shot? Like, there's no way that she did. How did, she's got to be an anomaly. Like, I never would a million years believe that someone could just walk in here with no experience and at end of day 2 and 3, test day, shooting like that. Absolutely impossible. Never believed it was possible." Scott was experiencing what I've experienced hundreds of times. It's fascinating to watch. And for new people to see it for the first time, they can't believe their eyes. They think it's somebody special. It's like that kid that went to college at 14 years old. Like, wow, man, this guy's got to be like top 1%, of the intellects to get to this level, right? He must be a genius. And it's not. So when we get into our next several series of the podcast, I'm going to dive into this a little bit because I really think for more experienced shooters and shooters that have been shooting a long time, there's a lot to be said here. And I really do think there's lessons to be learned from them. I honestly believe that. And when we get into so just to dive into this even further, we are getting ready to finish up a reloading class. I think we have 5, 6, 7 hours posted up already. And then we'll be getting into trying to finish it up here over the next couple of weeks. I know the machines are really getting up and running, and got a lot going on in the machine shop, a lot of just fine-tuning to sort of work into production mode. But once we finish the online reloading class, we're going to get into the prosumer gunsmithing class, but we're going to revisit the online long-range shooting school. And we're actually going to talk about this, and we're going to actually teach this because I think for experienced shooters, this is important stuff. You have to pay attention to this because it's not that you've got bad habits. I don't believe that at all. Let's just say that might be only part of the truth. There's a lot more to this than that. So ought to be a great series coming up. If you'd like to learn more about it, you'd like to join us, stick around. We're going to have the other podcasts coming out. We're going to talk about this in depth and try to dive into the mystery of new shooters. So just to give you a taste of the next couple podcasts coming through, if you'd like to join us, stay tuned. Sign up down below. Get notified. Keep a watch out. But I think over 20 years, this is one of the most fascinating things that I've ever seen collectively every year, and probably some of the most important podcasts that we'll do. So I've been looking forward to this series and trying to think of a way to approach it that would make sense and try to share with just, I think, what is a fascinating subject. And I hope we'll bring more experienced shooters back to a level to just improve and come to the level of their greatness, I guess you would say. So we are finishing up the Gen 4s on the 223s. 22 Creeds are coming out. Those will be available for sale when we get out to January 1st, and then we'll start releasing the barrels for them. And then we'll start stepping in through other chambers. I think the 6.5 Creeds, 6 Creeds next, and then we'll be into the 308, of course. So a lot of great aces coming out, and we released a video if you want to check it out. If you want to go over to Wolf Precision's YouTube channel, or just go to our homepage and look for the ace, and you'll see the video pop up on there as well. But we did a quick video without showing a lot of detail on the installation of the Gen 4 ace and the tools involved and how simple it is to change the chambers and change the calibers and swap parts out. And it was pretty fascinating. We put it up. It's one of our biggest videos we've ever put out. We really hit something with this one because it's one of our highest viewed videos out there. I know YouTube hides this a lot, and we've been told by other people who are experts in the field that there's ways that they use algorithms to sort of suppress some information, especially in shooting and everything else. So if you're not one of the big guys that's out there with, 1 million plus followers, and we're saying just take all the leashes off and let it run. But for a lot of the channels like ourselves, we sort of get suppressed a little bit and sort of get held down. We don't pop up on the searches and the views like a lot of other stuff will. It's just sort of I would say the political environment and maybe even the environment towards our industry as far as manufacturing firearms. But it was a great video. It was a big hit. We'll be following up with more, but we didn't go into a lot of details with it. We just wanted to show people what's coming. And it sort of is that pre-fit mindset, right? But at a totally different level. So one of the ways I think the custom rifle is going to change isn't just pre-fit, the gunsmithing of chambering the barrel. It's making the barrel and the actual chamber itself a working component of the rifle, which means it's a manufactured part, not a gunsmith part. And that the fact that these things can actually be done at a higher quality and even more efficiently in some ways as well. And so it's one step beyond pre-fit, which 7 years ago we believe that the market's going to go to. Now, we think it's still about a year out before this is really going to take off. We think this is the way the industry is going, and we were really hoping to be on the leading front of it. We believed in it, and it's here. The door's cracking open, especially with that Backfire TV. He is right. It is changing. It's going to change really fast, and here we are. Another year from now, I think you're going to see this to be the norm. And so when we released a video, we just didn't want to get into a lot of the details, and we didn't want to make it a tutorial, just, hey, here's an introduction as to why and some of the tools, and didn't even get into the differences between the Gen 1, 2, and 3 all that much, which might be the next video that we do. Now, for those who would like to join us for any of the online gunsmithing courses or any of the online reloading classes, I do want to throw out there that our online long-range shooting school is up. It's been a great success. We have students from around the world attending it. We're super proud of it. It's been a lot of work. It took over 2 years to film, and it is my life's work in video format, and it's everything that we teach at the in-person class here, just for those that can, attend one of our classes and travel in to see us. We do charge $49 a month, and I was told that Apple removed that surcharge off of the app. So if you download the Patreon app, you can find us at Wolf Precision. We do show it up blurred out because we are 18 and over, so I always find it funny that it looks like it's sketchy content. But you look us up, you have to be over 18, you have to register, and basically join the Wolf Pack. And what the Wolf Pack is $49 a month. You get access to the complete online long-range shooting school. You'll get access to our reloading class, which is going on right now. And then you'll get unlimited access to our prosumer gunsmithing school. And we get questions all the time on this it's $49 a month, and you can register or unregister at any time. So you're not locked into any type of contract with us. If you want to sign up, we think it takes about 4 to 5 months to attend the online long-range shooting school to do it properly. And once you're done, if you're not interested in anything else, you can unregister. That's fine. And then if you want to learn more about the online reloading class, you're interested in prosumer, you can log back in. It's $49 for the month, and you can go through all the training and log back out at any time. So we get customers that will pop in and out all the time, and that's why we did it that way. We wanted to make sure that somebody wants to come back and do a refresher with us, but doesn't want to come the whole way back into Johnstown, Pennsylvania to take class with us. They can actually take that refresher course online and, a couple bucks back in the game again, and away they go. We also think that as far as the remote learning, it's really taught us that this can be done, especially safely. And so we're super excited that we're able to get into the reloading part of it as well, which is a big part of shooting. So if you're going to shoot a lot, you're probably going to get into reloading. We would like to sort of be that buffer to throw some common sense stuff out there before you start getting into all the crazy on the internet. The best way to attend any of our online courses through the Wolfpack is to go to our website at wolfprecision.net, go to the class. The online long-range shooting school would be an example, and then every video is in chronological order. So episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you click on it, it will open it in Patreon, but then go back to our website to click on the next video. So Patreon always posts the last video first, and so they're sort of backwards, and there's no way to change that. So what we've done is if you go to our website, watch the videos from our site after you register at Patreon, and then you can actually attend them in order as well. And don't forget there's some downloads. So some of the episodes are actually download PDF targets and test targets and things that we use here at the school as well. So we're looking forward to the next couple of weeks. We're really getting ramped up in manufacturing. Super excited on January 1st with the release of the first 2 Gen 4s. We'll be doing a lot more video work on that as well. And really excited for the next couple of podcasts. I want to share with you just something that's fascinated me for the last 20 years, and it's just shocked me already this year. I mean, it's an amazing subject, and again, I think good lessons learned. But I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us, that's for sure. If you'd like to leave a nice comment down below, we really appreciate it. If you'd like to share the podcast as well, we really appreciate that as well. It really helps a lot with our ratings. And then, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, contact us, send us an email. Love to hear from you. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. My name is Jamie Dotson. I'm your host, and you're listening to Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building Podcast.